Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest joining us today on the Show Up Dad podcast. But before we dive into today's conversation, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for their support. This episode of the Show Up Dad is brought to you by Tallman Equipment, a leading provider of high-quality tools and equipment for the powerline industry. Visit tallmanequipment.com to explore their wide range of products and discover how they can help you. Additionally, I'd like to give a special shout out to the Show Up Dad Foundation, an organization dedicated to supporting fathers in their journey towards becoming the best versions of themselves. Through their workshops, resources, and community, the Show Up Dad Foundation empowers dads to show up, be present, and make a positive impact on their children's lives. To learn more about our mission and how you can get involved, visit the showupdadfoundation.org. Our guest today is Victor Reyes, a dedicated family man and an experienced professional in the line industry. With a solid 11 years of experience, including 7 years as a journeyman, Victor has established himself as a skilled and knowledgeable individual in this field. Not only is he committed to his career, but he is also a loving husband, having been married for a year and a half. Furthermore, Victor is a proud father to a delightful 2-year-old little girl. Join us as we dive into Victor's journey as a dedicated husband, father, and a professional, and let us uncover the valuable insights and experiences he has to share with us all. Victor, it's great to have you on our show, brother.
How you doing,
Thank
brother?
you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, man, we ran into each other the other day while I was teaching first aid and CPR. And I loved what you had to say. You had some great insight about being a father, a husband, right? And that's why I wanted you to come on here just to share with our audience and just bring hope to the ones that are coming up nowadays, you know?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I thought, I never met you until then, but I think we have the same. I think we believe in a lot of the same things, man. As far as the trade, where things are going, stuff needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool how, if you're looking at it, all things fall back to accountability and leadership in our homes, right? I see it even with the apprentices coming up. I look at them and I see certain character flaws that I've picked up on, you know what I mean, that we're trying to develop within these young men. And it's like crazy because it's like, man, this is stuff that should have been taught at the home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. It's just I had to grow up so fast, so being accountable for what you
Mm-hmm.
do is what I believe in. If I go back to, if you don't do it, who else is going to do it? That's what I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's you or who else is going to do it? That's what I believe in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's take us back to your journey, dude. How did you all come about coming into this trade? How'd you find this trade and stuff like that, man? Let's start there.
So I'm currently, I just turned 30 years old. I grew up, my father was in my life until I was about 10, 11 years old. He went to prison.
Mm-hmm.
He did about 5, 10 years. He did 5 and then went in for another 5. My mom had three of us, older sister, I'm the middle, and then my younger sister. And I had to grow up quick, man. I was 10, 11 years old, 12 years old, watching my mom struggle just to pay the rent,
Mm-hmm.
So I had no choice but to grow up quick, man. My mom, I got very lucky, man. My mom worked for a successful family for a very long time, and one of them knew that I wasn't doing good. It's not that I wasn't doing good in school. I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't believe in the system, man. Watching my mom struggle to pay the rent while I was going to school, it just wasn't cutting it for me, man. I just didn't believe in it. I'm like, I'm wasting my time. I'm old enough now, 12, 13, 14 years old, to turn a wrench or to move, to do something, something that a man can do. I was wasting my time, and I had to find something where I could, start helping my mom with the rent,
Yeah.
So I dropped out of high school when I was 13, 14 years old, and I started just, whatever I could do to get money, growing up, helping my mom with the rent, as I was trying to guide my little sister because she didn't have a dad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was tough, and
Yeah.
then well, the way I got in the trade, the way I found out about the trade is, like I said, my mom was working for a successful family, and she told my mom that I should sign up for the skill center, East LA Skill Center.
Hmm.
She said there's a 2-3 year waiting list. Have him sign up when he turns 16. So as soon as I turned 16, I signed up for it.
Hmm.
Like I said, 2-3 year waiting list to let you know ahead of time. Hey, there's a 2-3 year waiting list. So I signed up for it, not thinking anything about it when I turned 18. When I turned 18, I had nothing going. I had a little job here and there,
Yeah.
but I was looking to join the military, man, because that's what a lot of kids do. They figure out college is not for me, school
Yeah.
wasn't for me. Let me go to the military. So I was this close, man, this close to join the military that summer, and then, which is not a bad thing. I love military guys. I was this close, and
Hmm.
then I get an email from the skill center, 18 and a half, boom, you're in the next class. So I got in the next class. When I went through that class, man, it just changed my mentality, man. It made me so hungry. It made me love the trade. I felt like I was unstoppable, man. Like I'm
Hmm.
gonna get this job, man. Like I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I don't care if I gotta figure out, I don't care if I gotta do a fucking triple backflip off a roof and he says you got the job. I was gonna get the job.
Yeah.
I was gonna get the job, dude. So I traveled everywhere. I got with 3 or 4 buddies from line school, and I traveled all the West Coast, signed every local, including 47, of course. And I ended up getting a call from Southwest to come be a groundman.
Hmm.
Was a groundman, and then 6 months later I was an apprentice. Became an apprentice, and after that, I just got to grinding, dude, and I got to where I am today because of that school, because of that class that I went through.
I have so many questions for you, brother. So let's go back. So your father did two nickels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prison. And then you talked about how you had to fill in the role to help out your mom, raise your sister, and also just to provide to make ends meet. Man, that's hard, brother, and I commend you on that because that's not a role a child should have to ever step into, right?
Right.
So that took a lot of courage on you. At the same token, man, I feel for you, and I apologize that you have to go through that, dude. Seriously, because that's a big role, dude, for reals. You know?
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah. But how does that change your perspective now that you are a father to your daughter, and like, how has that shaped your idea of what a father is? You know?
So when I was younger and I was making very little money or had no experience,
Hmm.
I didn't give up back then. Now that I have my own kid, my own wife, quitting is not even part of my vocabulary. It's not even in my world. It doesn't even exist for me.
Yeah.
Quitting does not even exist. I'm going to take care of my kid and my wife.
Hmm.
I was way worse off back then. I'm way better off now. Why should I quit now? You know,
Yeah.
that doesn't, that's a, it just doesn't, I just don't see me doing that. It's just, I have it way better now. It's just like, it's a lot easier now, back
Yeah.
then all the odds were against me. I have leverage now,
Yeah.
as journeyman linemen, man, we have so much leverage. We have a skill that nobody else has.
Yeah.
So that's my mentality now. It could always be worse. The way I see life is I'm already way ahead,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's my success has risen has made my whole family successful. Not just me, man. My brother-in-law, he's gone so much more successful. My mother's so much more successful now. My little sister that I helped raise, she's a lot more successful now. She's going to law school now. Got a
Yeah.
full scholarship. So my hard work made my whole family stronger because we were so tight. We had no other choice, man, but to lift
Hmm.
each other up. So because of my success and my doing, I believe that it's made my family a lot more successful.
That's interesting to see that, brother, because man, we talk about emulation, right? And as mentors, we have to understand that people are looking up to us, right? And it's great to see that you filled that role that wasn't there as a mentor, and that everybody else was able to draw from that in your family, and the successes started to follow after that, right? Because man, you're absolutely right. You chose to not be a victim, right? Anybody else, I mean, we've had crazy stories that we've listened to or heard, we all have, where people have chosen to stay in that victim mentality. Whoa, woe is me. I had it rough when I was a child. I didn't have a daddy. All these different things, right? Which are harsh. They absolutely harsh. But at the end of the day, we all have a choice in what we're going to do. Are we going to become the victim or the victor? And I'm glad you chose that, because you're here today as a living, breathing example of what it is to overcome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for that, man.
Mhm.
It's very easy to just quit, man. It's so easy to just, I could have just said, I don't want to get married. I don't want to do this, and I'll see my kid every weekend, whatever. That's the easy thing to do, man. Men
Yeah.
are respected for what takes time and what's hard. That's
Mhm.
why you gain respect for what's hard to do. Nobody respects the easy things to do. People
Mhm.
respect the hard things to do, man. And it takes time to get there, man. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, no, definitely. And this life is just a sanctification process. That's all it is, man. Right? We're going to
Right.
make mistakes, and we're going to blow it. And when we do, be big enough to say we've blown it, ask for forgiveness, and move on. Right?
Yep.
No, that's awesome, brother. So how is so you're married now, right? You have your 2-year old
Correct.
now. How has your wife, like the whole trade aspect and stuff like that? How's she? Because I know for a lot of women, they don't understand that there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into it, like sacrifice being your time, and sometimes they're not going to see you. You're going to spend more time with your crew than you are your own family. You know what I mean? How has she been able to adjust to that you've seen?
So at first when we got married, we moved in before we got married, but
Hmm.
when we moved in together with the kid, um, it was hard for her. It was really hard for her.
Yeah.
She'd At first she would complain. She would complain, "Oh, why aren't you home? Why aren't you home?" You know, this and that, and then it was hard. It was really hard for her.
Hmm.
But then uh, her aunt, her mom passed away when she was younger, but her aunt is like her mother now, and she was nagging to her aunt in front of me, and then her aunt, very smart woman, she goes, "Well, what's the alternative? Like, what's the alternative? Like
Hmm.
him not working, you have to work, and then now you need a babysitter because you have to work. So you want him to work less, even if it's 50 hours, 50 hours, and then you work 40 hours, you still have to get a kid. You still have to get a babysitter. So the alternative is that's the alternative. Now,
Yeah.
do you want somebody else raising your kid, or do you want to raise your kid? So then that opened her mind up, and she's like, whoa, I didn't think about that, because she's younger. She's 27 or
Yeah.
28. So now she understands that, hey, let me work 50 plus hours, and then we live comfortable. So
Hmm.
that's the sacrifice that she has to make in order for her to be home at home with our kid now. I mean, that's just how it is now. It's hard to survive with with one income.
Yeah.
I just don't know how some of these people are doing it nowadays, living off just one income, and they're not making nearly the amount of money that we're making. I'm like, how what is going on here?
Hmm.
So it's hard to do it as with one income. I just imagine if you weren't a lineman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's acknowledged the fact that she has it good and she loves it, man. My wife takes care of me, takes care of the house. She's great, man. She's freaking awesome.
Hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. We sometimes don't understand it, right? And once you're in the trade for a while, I don't know, I don't want to say take it for granted, but sometimes we forget that how blessed we are, right? And you're absolutely right. There's not a lot of people that make the amount of income that we do, right? For the hazardous job that we perform on a daily for other
Yeah,
people's um, you know, comforts, right? Because that's what we do it for. Can you imagine a world without electricity, power?
right. So you just said something. You said taking it for granted, man.
Hmm.
Every year and a half, I'll get stupid and my mom will she'll check me or she'll humble me. She'll look at me and she says, "Don't forget where we came from." She'll look at me and she says, remember that freaking house we used to live in? Remember that freaking house we used to live in we used to have to put buckets outside you when it rained? No, outside in the house because it had holes everywhere. We used
Mm,
to have to put buckets in the house. So that's the kind of home I came from, dude, growing up. So my
yeah.
mom will humble me every once in a while. She'll tell me that story, and I'll be like, "Oh, mom, yeah, you're right," and it'll humble me way back down. So, you know,
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Don't forget our humble beginnings. Um, when I started this podcast, it started off in a room in a farm home that we lived in New Mexico, and man, I remember having this chinky little laptop, dude, and with my foot on the door because I didn't have a lock on my door, and hoping the kids weren't going to bust in while I was, recording like this. You know what I'm
yeah, yeah,
saying?
yeah,
And to where it's turned now. So absolutely right, man. There, wherever we start, you know what I mean? We just got to continuously progress and utilize that as a means to look back and see where we came from, right? And be thankful.
yeah, man. Like I tell all these apprentices too, man, when they're going through a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell them, man, you're only an apprentice for 3.5 years. 3.5 years of your life. Give up 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're a journeyman lineman for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's a small sacrifice that you have to do in order to set yourself up for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%, man. Um, you talked about some hard times in your life, Victor. What are some of the hard times that you can look back now and be like, man, thank God that is over with? As far as you being an apprentice and stuff like that.
Um, so I've told you, but I came up in the Southwest, man.
Hmm.
And I'm as brown as they come. I mean, I'm Mexican. I'm first generation here.
Yeah.
Um, I came up in the Southwest, Texas, out of all places, and you deal with a lot of racism, man. Lots of racism, and that was honestly my first groundman job, my first and the time I became an apprentice in
Yeah.
in uh, in Texas, and I remember thinking, I was like, man, is this what the trade is? You know, a bunch of racist guys towards colored people, and that was just normal back then. I don't know how it's changed now with the whole movement and all this. I mean, I haven't been out there since I became a lineman, but yeah, I'm glad that's over now, dude. Having to deal with no matter if you were a good hand, a bad hand, didn't matter. You were still colored. You were still brown or black. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't matter. And that was one of the. I mean, one of my journeyman linemen when I was an apprentice. He came to California a lot. So
Hmm.
I mean he was white. So he was white. They weren't all like that. He was from he came and worked in California before they became two locals, and he would teach me, hey, this is how you're gonna do it when you go out there. Learn this. This is what's. He took the time with me, dude. Not a lot. They didn't do that with a lot of guys. But his name is Canyon Perry, man. I call him every once in a while, and I still thank him every year. I'll call him every year and thank him, man, because he
Hmm.
taught me a lot. And if it wasn't because of him, I probably wouldn't have made it out here in California, or been able to get around like I do out here in California. You know.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that's over, dude. The having to deal with the racism. The day I topped out and
Hmm.
went to the hall, got my ticket. I had all my stuff packed in my truck. It was raining. Whatever I could fit in my pickup truck, I put a tarp over it and I drove. Boom, right back to California. I didn't work not one day as a journeyman lineman anywhere else other than uh, local 47 or Southern California.
Yeah. It's unfortunate too that, that stuff does take place. I look like a white boy straight up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Spanish descent and some Portuguese, little Native American. But needless to say, we're very light. I'm the only one in my family that has hazel eyes. Everybody else has blue eyes or green eyes.
Uh-huh.
and out of all my siblings, right? But I remember experiencing that myself, working, on some transmission lines and stuff like that, where some of the locals would start speaking in Spanish. And, I speak Spanish, so I'd talk back to them in Spanish, would be having a conversation. And next thing you know, some of the journeymen would be like, "Don't be talking that bull crap around me." You know what I mean? Don't be
Yeah.
talking that chicone. And they'd come up to me
Yeah.
afterwards and they'd be like, "Well, what are you, a chicone, man? I didn't know you. I thought you were a white boy, man." And they get kind of upset, and I'd be like,
Right. Right.
"Come on, man,
I,
really?"
I've, I've, yeah. I mean, we've all experienced it, man. We've all experienced it, and I've never been ashamed of speaking Spanish. I've never been ashamed of saying I'm Mexican. I'm first generation here. I've never been ashamed of that, man. I
Hmm.
wasn't. I wasn't back then when I was an apprentice. I'm definitely am not now when I'm a journeyman lineman.
Yeah.
Man, I get these Oregon kids or these new apprentices from Oregon, and I talk to them in Spanish. Hey, go get me the pipa, go get me
Yeah.
whatever, and they'll start speaking Spanish, man. It's just not being ashamed of where you came from, man. I'm proud to be a first generation. I'm pro America. I love America, but I don't forget,
Yes.
I love America, dude. It's my go-to, but I'm not ashamed to say, hey, I'm first generation Mexican or first
Yeah.
generation American, you
Yeah,
know?
for reals. No, and definitely, man. And I like what you said. I am American because that's what we are. We live in the United States of America. And I think more than ever now, people need to come together and just pull together, right? United, we are stronger. I saw a great example of that this past weekend. We went to the Angels Stadium to watch the Angels play.
Okay.
Great time, with my family and everything. And man, it was just so cool to see everybody united. I mean, there was thousands of people there, dude, and the just everybody just united, saying the national anthem. They're doing the wave and everything like
Nice.
that, man. I think we saw the wave go around the whole entire Angel Stadium like 5 different times. The fireworks,
Nice.
it was just cool, man, and it was a perfect example of unity and the American way. It was
Yeah.
awesome, you know.
Yeah. So my mom remarried. She remarried to a Vietnam veteran with two Purple Hearts, man.
Oh wow.
She's been married now for about 10 years,
Hmm.
a little less than 10 years. But man, he's got two Purple Hearts. He's pro America. Same thing. He's second generation here. He's an old school farmer from Chino, and man,
Hmm.
he's same thing. He's he loves America, and it's our family's nothing. They've it's just where it's the American dream, man, and I'm living it. I'm living it, dude.
Hmm.
I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. I'm married. My wife she's a white girl from Chino Hills, dude.
Yeah.
And when I got to meet her family, you know, my wife told me I couldn't meet her dad until I took her to her steakhouse, which that didn't matter. But she saw me. She said, "I got to see how you cut your steak." You know, see if you know how to cut your steak, and then I can introduce you to my father. So
Yeah.
that's how American and white they are, and I love it, man. It's you get a taste of like what your daughter can have. If you
Hmm.
just follow the American dream rules. It's people. All you have to do is see what other people are doing, and you can do it too, man. It's not impossible. You
Yeah.
know. So that's great, man. There was a culture change, but
Hmm.
I love it, man. I love it. They get along with my family. I get along with their family. It's freaking great, man.
And that's awesome that you're able to assimilate into their family and vice versa, right? Because I know for a lot of people out there, your in-laws sometimes are your outlaws. So
Yeah,
it's good that you guys have that relationship. You know what I mean? That's
right.
fortunate for you to be able to have that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great, man. I'm lucky, man. I'm so lucky. I couldn't have picked a better family to marry into.
Hmm.
So I finally found the right one. After it took me a while, dude. It took me a while. I mean, I was a journeyman lineman from 23 till now. But when I became a lineman at 23, I just partied my ass off till I was like 27,
Hmm.
28, and then I decided, this is the one. And like I was saying, I wish I wish I would have found the one at 23. And you skip a lot of trouble
Yeah.
between that, between that between those years, just skip a lot of trouble. And I wish I would have done it sooner.
Mm,
As far as got married and had a kid, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's just maturing. A lot of people mature at different ages. And sometimes it's just God's perfect timing, man, that He has for us. And being able to recognize that and say, okay, that's enough is enough, and I want to find someone and spend the rest of my life with and raise a family with. I mean, that's a huge commitment, brother. You know.
Yeah, like I tell these apprentices, man, like if they're young
Mm-hmm.
and they come out of state, I said, man, just stay out of trouble, man. Stay out of trouble. There's nothing good. There's nothing after like 7, 8 o'clock out somewhere. I'm not saying if you're just running around doing dumb stuff, there's nothing good that really comes after that. You're
Yeah.
not missing out on anything, dude. I don't want to say I did it all, but I partied my ass off, and I still the times with my daughter where she's running around the garage and I'm taking her on walks, I would trade that in for a night out any day of the week, any day. That
Mm-hmm.
you will remember those walks, those partying stuff. I don't even care about anymore. But you will remember the walks that you take with your daughter, or the little things she learns, the things you teach her. That's way better, a million times better than running around doing dumb stuff.
Mm. Man, I was talking to Clint the other day, who was a past guest on our podcast, good friend of both of ours. And he was telling me, he's like, man, Dave, what you said to me about how our children emulate us, he's like, it's absolutely true. They watch everything we do. And he was just talking about, I don't know, some little thing that he's always doing in the house, and his daughter's doing the same exact thing. You know what I mean? And it's just cool to recognize that as a father and be like, wow, man, I really got to watch what I do, you know?
Man, that's totally right, man. My daughter, she's like my shadow.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why she's not right here, right next to me, is because I told my wife, hey, watch her for a little bit.
Yeah.
But if I'm home, she's right next to me, dude. And I'll come in the garage and I'll hit the bag, or I'll hit one of these bags, and I had to get her own little gloves, dude, because that's all she wants. She wants it.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime dad puts the gloves on, she wants to put the gloves on too. It's
Yeah.
just that he's right, man. They whatever you do, whatever you say, they're right behind you, man. They're so freaking smart. So
Mm-hmm.
freaking smart, and they're quick too, man. They're quick. Like, whoa, where'd you learn that from? Well, she's just been watching you. So
Mm-hmm.
the kids, man, they're very, very smart.
I think it's crazy, since we have that realization that our kids are watching us and stuff like that. One of the big things that I always like to talk about is how we treat our spouse in front of them too. Because a daughter, since we're speaking about daughters right now, their first representation of a man that they're going to base everything after, all the relationships, is after what they see in you. And for me, when I realized that, I had to change a lot. Not saying that I changed overnight, because it's a sanctification, it's a process, right? But man, once I realized that, dude, it was like game on. I have to make these changes. I've asked past guests, the question, would you be okay with your daughter marrying somebody like you? And some of them, if they're honest with themselves, they're like, no, man, I wouldn't be. But the good thing is that's measurable,
Oh,
right? It's
right, right.
measurable, and recognizing is the first step, and being able to say, man, then I need to make the changes. If I don't like my daughter marrying somebody like me, then I need to make the changes.
Yeah.
That's how
So,
impactful we are.
so I'll give you an example. Which I mean, you're 100% right. I'll give you an
Mm-hmm.
example. My little sister,
Mm-hmm.
she looks up to me and my brother-in-law, which we kind of raised her. Like I said, we kind of raised her, and she's 20. What is she 20? Well, she's 20, 21 now.
Yeah.
But she we have standards for her, dude. We have standards for her.
Yeah.
So when she decided to get a boyfriend, which she does now, she's had her boyfriend for a year or two now. Man, I mean, at least in front of the family, he's a total good guy. Like I honestly think he's a square. But man,
Yeah.
he couldn't be more. He's a stud. He couldn't be more of a good guy. He's a family kid. Goes to college too. He got a scholarship too. All that good stuff, man. It's like, yeah, man. Like I don't want a loser dating my sister. you know, so let alone my daughter.
Yeah.
So once you set the standard, you hope she follows and which my sister did. It's my little sister. So that you're
Yeah.
totally right on that, man. You set the example for them. You set the standards. You set the example. You lead the way, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As
Oh
a
yeah.
father.
Man, it's crazy. Just having that realization like that I did. That was one of the major contributors for me to stop drinking. I haven't drank in 16 years. My daughter's going
Oh,
to be 18 now, and
nice.
this year. And man, all it took was my wife coming to me one day, and I've told the story a bunch of times, but needless to say, I came home drunk one day. I was working out of state, and I was on the gazebo flipping burgers, and my neighbor, I was throwing miniatures over the fence because it was 15 acres of unused alfalfa fields, right, where they were going to get ready
Oh,
to plant it and stuff.
right, right,
So
right.
I
Uh-huh.
was I was throwing my little miniature maker marks over the fence when I was drinking,
Uh,
and
uh-huh.
the guy came up to the fence and he had 2 5-gallon buckets and he put them right by the fence and walked off. It just so happened that my wife was walking out and she saw the guy.
Oh,
She knew I liked Maker's Mark, and she just kind of shook her head and gave you that look like only a wife can.
yeah.
So I walked up to her and I'm like, "Oh, what's up, babe?" And she's like, "Well, I'm not going to tell you what you can or cannot do." She's like, "You're a grown man, but if you're okay with your wife, or not your wife, your daughter growing up and being accustomed to that smell on you, and then she goes out and seeks after a man or finds a man who has that smell all the time on her, are you going to be okay with that?" And she told me that, dude, and hit me like a ton of bricks, bro. And I never drank again.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it takes sometimes, man. Like, if you drink a lot and yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop. It doesn't work like that. You have to have something run you over, you
Mm-hmm.
know, to to get there, man. That's
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's a great story.
It's cool too, though. Like, and this is just for the wives who listen, or even husbands, with wives. Possibly your wife's complaining about your drinking or whatever, right? It wasn't that my wife, her complaining or badgering me or anything like that is what caused me to change. It was the love she showed me through that, right? There's a great scripture that says that the love of God causes men to repent. So it's not us telling people you're in the wrong and all that. Obviously, if someone's in the bad, and you love them, you want to tell them, "Hey, man, I care for you, and I don't like what this is what is was becoming of you." Right? We're going to tell somebody we love and care for these things, but not badgering them and hitting them over the head consistently. Consistently, that's not what's going to cause the major change. Right? What's going to cause a change is someone just loving you through those moments, through your bad times. That's where
Mm,
change really, really took place, and that's patience, brother. And they say a patient man is a perfect man. So that's something that each and every one of us need to work on, right?
right, man. Patience. Yeah, patience. Now, there's nothing stronger than a line wife, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Those line wives, man, my respect to all of them. They've all been through a lot of stuff. They've taken time to get their man to where they want to be. Because I mean, I wasn't perfect. I was far from perfect when I
Mm-hmm.
got with my with my wife now. It takes a lot for them to change us uh, to be to be better people. Because they I mean, on the early stage when she was my girlfriend, man, they deal with a lot,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I've had girlfriends here and there, and later, but man, she stuck with me, and now I mean, I like to think she has me where where she wants me. It takes a lot for that, man, because we're kind of we're knuckleheads, man.
Yeah.
We're freaking knuckleheads.
Yeah, and
So,
a lot of times we fall into that mode too, where we're always constantly just trying to fix things right away, right? Because man, that's what we do. We're problem solvers, and we're always constantly trying to fix things. When they come to us with their issues and their problems. I had a past guest talk about how a wife, typically when she's complaining, if you really listen to her, it's her sharing her heart with you that she has a fear surrounding something, an outcome, or even something that's happened, right? Or even a thought, anxiety towards the future. So when we're able to listen to them and hear what they're actually saying and not take that, or not take a stance against them to where we're offended by what they're saying, and then allowing that to just like really just trigger our shame, we're going to be able to help them, right? Because they are the weaker vessel. And when I say weaker, I don't mean weak like they can't do what we do or anything like that. But I mean, there's definitely characteristics between a man and a woman where it clearly indicates that we are strong for a reason, to protect, provide, and preside, right, with our spouse and our families, right? That's something that God put on us. So with that protection comes us being able to reassure them in those times where they're experiencing fear and it's coming off like nagging. That's our job, and to recognize that. If that makes
Um,
sense.
that's great, man. Yeah, that's great. I'll give you an example. I mean, when I was 23, 24 years old, a
Mm-hmm.
young journeyman lineman, I'd have girlfriends or a girlfriend, whatever, and they would come nagging at me, and I'd just be, I I would transfer work to out of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how to deal with that pressure at the time. I was young. I was a kid at 23 years old. You're still a kid, man. You're
Yeah.
still a kid, man. You're still a kid with all that responsibility. I'm stressed out at work, and then I get out of work, and I'm still, I take that work home,
Mm-hmm.
and I hear, like you said, for me at the time, I was a kid, so all I heard was nagging,
Yeah.
and I would blow up on them or not say the right things. And as I got older, like you said, patience, man. I learned a lot of patience
Mm-hmm.
in those last 7 years now. That now I could just go home and relax and work, leave it at work, and then when I come home to my family, I'm just relaxed,
Mm-hmm.
relax, and I don't blow up like I used to when I was younger. That just comes with time, man. It's a lot of pressure as a young journeyman lineman, man. When you know this, I had no kids at the time. I was 23, 24 years old. You're still you're learning every day, but at that time,
Mm-hmm.
your first year as a lineman, you're learning. You're like a sitting duck, man. You're just learning, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Still learning a lot, and it was a lot of pressure when you have those young journeymen or those young apprentices or older apprentices. I've had apprentices I've had apprentices when they were 50 years old.
Yeah.
When I was 23, and I'm having to tell them what to do, or what's even worse, they already have grandkids, and I got to take them up in the primary, and I'm like still unsure because it's your first year,
Yeah.
So that builds a lot of patience, as I got older, it built a lot of patience, man.
Yeah.
Which
That's good to you that you see the correlation between kids, right, and apprentices. That's what I see now, even with my role as an instructor, is the patience, right, that we're developing. Life, if you start to see life as a training ground, right, and when we start looking at it in that aspect, we start seeing where everything is measurable, and where we can see where we need to develop, and a part of it was dealing with apprentices. How can I develop to be more patient with them? If they're not getting it, then what do I need to change and adapt, and be able to even educate myself so I can know it and understand it better, so they can get it and understand it? Because obviously there's a communication breakdown. There's so many different facets to training and be a mentor that we use every day. And when we go from work, and we could take that even back home with us, the positives, right? To even utilizing
right,
that with our own wife, with our own children, right? When we're trying to
yeah,
communicate to our spouse and having that patience, because she's just not understanding what we're saying, especially in a
right,
heated argument when we both have strong feelings towards something. We're trying to come to an agreement with
yeah,
something. You know what I mean? So.
yeah. This is this is for the apprentices. So
Mm-hmm.
like I tell the apprentices, there's nothing more like you're so cocky when you turn third step. First, you turn third step, and you're the cockiest until you go
Mm-hmm.
hot. Then you go on the primary, and you don't realize that. Then you realize that you suck. You turn fourth. You get humbled. Then you
Yeah.
turn seventh, because I remember you saying this. Then you get as cocky as you can when you turn seventh. You think every lineman sucks, and yeah, I would have done this, I would have done that, I would have done this. You turn seventh. You're that cocky. Your first year as a lineman, you get humbled. You realize that you're like, whoa, it's all on me now. The apprentice
Mm-hmm.
could throw all his ideas. The apprentice could be like, oh, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? But you're like, you're still trying to work out the job. But you could take the apprentice's suggestions. But if it goes bad, it's on you as a lineman. It's on you, man. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care. Doesn't matter what the apprentice says. It's on you. And that's a dad thing too, man. You're responsible for the house. Anything goes bad, it's your fault, man. You should have you should know everything's preventable as a dad, man. You can prevent a lot of things as a father, as a husband, as a dad. It all falls back on you, man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I believe in.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for them. Anything that happens to them, any bad decisions that they make, it's still on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it takes being intentional and self-aware, right, to be able to mitigate and see all the risks, and even then, man, there's stuff that happens that we have no control over, but how we respond and how we're going to react is what we have control over. You know what I mean? A sudden death in the family, there's nothing we can do with that, right? But how are you going to respond in that moment? Are you going to respond in anger, or are you going to respond in love and understanding and empathy, right? If something goes wrong, a loss of a job or whatever it may be, a loss of a relationship, that's the only thing that we can control in this life, is how we respond to things and choosing to respond to things, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree on
Now,
that.
I was going to ask you, Victor, now we talked about, different situations, we talked about apprentices and stuff like that. How has your perspective changed with the apprentices now that you're dealing with, now that you have your own daughter now? Like, is there a level of more patience with them, or understanding, or anything like that you're seeing from that
So
perspective?
there's a lot more patience. Every apprentice is different, man. Every apprentice
Mm-hmm.
is different. Some just get it like that.
Mm-hmm.
I could have a first, second, third step apprentice, and I could say that kid's gonna be good. He's gonna turn out pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna turn out pretty good. The kid's a stud. He listens. He's quick. He
Catches on.
processes, catches on. I can tell right away, man. And even the ones that don't, I can tell that are not gonna have it. But I'm still gonna take my time and
Mm-hmm.
teach them. Be patient with them. One of those apprentices might be somebody's brother, somebody's dad, or somebody's son that you
Mm-hmm.
might run into later, man. And I hope if I ever have a son, I don't want him to treat him bad, because he might, he's probably my son. He could be my son that you're teaching.
Yeah.
But even if I don't deal with laziness. If you're late, if you could be dumb, you could be slow, you could be everything but lazy. As long as you're not lazy, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
take my time with you, and I'm gonna mold you as far as I can go. For the year that I have you, for the 6 months that I have you, I'm gonna take my time and teach you. That's the way I wasn't like that younger in my career, because come on,
Mm-hmm.
let's go, let's go. It's different now, man. Like these apprentices now, they're not as I think that they're not as mean as they used to be. They're not hung. I don't. A lot of them are, but some of them they just don't want it, and it's cool, man. But I'm still gonna do my part as a journeyman lineman and take
Mm-hmm.
my time and teach you, man. That's my whole vision on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my vision on it.
That's interesting that you said that they didn't want it. I've heard a lot of people say the same thing. So it's not just you, man. I've heard it put another way too, is that the drive isn't there, or maybe not even the drive. What it is the lack of understanding of how hazardous this job could be, right? It's almost
Yeah.
like a carefree, relaxed attitude. There's no more um the old up in arms, why aren't you understanding and take this serious type of mentality anymore. It's more like, oh man, we'll get to it tomorrow, or why are you so wound up about this, and it's not that serious. Like, the seriousness of it has really, really not been emphasized, I guess. And I see that's just society in general, right? I
Right.
think it's just where we're at, and we didn't get here overnight, obviously, but that's what I've been seeing. So I understand and I can relate to what you're saying, because it's almost like man, it could be massive, so many different things. It could be a lack of awareness, whatever it may be, but there is this non-urgency that I see, right?
Right.
And maybe it's good for even us old timers, man. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe we're so used to just emulating what we've seen as apprentices. Me coming up, all my linemen are almost passed away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The ones that raised
Believe
me
it.
up, there's a few of them that are still alive, Orlando and Ronnie, and I don't want to say their last names, but there's a few of them that are still alive. Some of them are passed away, and they are very, very not harsh. Well, I guess it was harsh. They were harsh, but
Yeah.
but
I mean,
needless to
hard back
say,
then, I'm sure.
yeah, they're just real, real sticklers on certain things, man. And it's like, sometimes, even, hindsight 2020, I'm looking back, I'm like, man, you didn't have to be so fixated on that. That's like, there's no need, right? And I think
Right.
that's what this generation is kind of telling us too. It's like, man, you just need to chill. And I get it, mental health has become a big issue, especially with our industry, as a whole. And I start seeing that all these different thoughts, aspects, everything that we do and stuff like that, it's just added stress that we're adding onto our own bodies. And, it's driving men to depression, right?
Yeah.
Sickness.
So, some of these what I tell some of these apprentices when I try to motivate them again, and they think they're, I'm already because I'm in it. As long as I get, as long as I get in, I'm going to top out,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, they might, cool. But I try to humble these apprentices sometimes by telling them my story, man. When I got in the apprenticeship, I was making $18 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't even, I know you probably started at less, but as a first step, I was making $18 an hour, and this wasn't that long ago. This was 2014 or 2014 or 2013. I was making $17 an hour, but I knew as long as I got that opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
become an apprentice, I was going to do whatever it took to become a lineman. I knew I was going to get to the very end, and I was become a journeyman lineman. So I try to humble these apprentices, tell them, hey, dude, you know how good you have it, man. A lot of these apprentices now, they're local. Good for them, man. Appreciate that, man. When I left to go do my apprenticeship, I saw my family once a year, man. Once a year. I took either Christmas or Thanksgiving. It was back and forth, either Thanksgiving or Christmas. For
Mm-hmm.
3 years, man, I saw my family for 1 week, and that's it. And now they're making, I mean, it's good. It's good for the trade. They're making triple what I was making. So I started telling them, man, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate the apprenticeship. You know,
Yeah.
that's your future, man. That's as long as you get that ticket and you do good, man, you're set for the rest of your life, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they realize some of them do, some of them don't, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what I try to tell them
I think they
to motivate them again.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good, because I think they do. I think they get caught up in the moment, and we all do, right? Just focusing on where we're at right at that moment, and we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we cannot see past tomorrow, right? We get so consumed by, man, they're telling me off right now at this moment. They're yelling at me, and we get stuck there a lot of times, and we need to be able to step back and say, hey, man, I screwed up today. I'm going to own up to it. There's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow, right? And
Yeah,
not get so focused on the bad. I mean, because I understand that a lot of times our words are powerful, and what we say is powerful. And when you're constantly getting browbeat, that has a tendency to really bring down and break the spirits, right?
yeah,
For a lot of these apprentices. And I think as leaders, as journeymen, as mentors, as foremen, as even fathers and husbands, we need to be aware of our words and the tremendous amount of impact it has on somebody. The same words we use to break someone down are the same words we can build somebody up, right?
man. Yeah, you're totally right, man. Because other than being a father and a husband, being a role model, man, to some of these apprentices,
Mm-hmm.
it's great, man. Like I had this apprentice kid from Oregon just a few months ago. He just turned hot, fourth, fifth step, uh, and man, he posted something on Instagram and thanked me, thanked my pole buddy, and he thanked
Mm-hmm.
the other lineman, saying thank you guys so much. I'm here, and the kid's a stud.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's no better feeling than having somebody message you or text you and still remembers you from, hey, thanks, brother. Thanks for doing all this for me. Thanks for being patient. Thanks for, teaching me, taking time with
Mm-hmm.
me, now because of you, hopefully his whole career, he's successful. You mold somebody in their early stage, you set him up for the rest of his life, man. There's nothing better than having there's nothing better than having that feeling like, damn, man, I did that. I taught the kid. He didn't do it. He didn't know anything. Everything he knows is because of me in the trade as far as right now. And he looks up to me, man. There's nothing better than that feeling, man.
Yeah. And it's good to hear that feedback. That's positive feedback, right?
Yeah.
E-
Yeah. I love
even
it,
as
man.
even as leaders, right? We need to hear that as husbands. We need our wives to turn around and tell us, "Hey, man, you're doing a great job. Thank you for doing that," or whatever. I know it feels good for me. I know my children. When they come to me and be like, "You're the greatest dad," it's like, man, that means a lot, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it goes both ways up the ladder. We like affirmations, and guess what? The people we're teaching, the people we're in charge of, love affirmations as well, right? And there's got to be a balance too.
Yeah. I'm strong about that. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
What could you share with us now, Victor, about like what would be the number one thing if you can sum up words of advice, wisdom? What would be the number one thing you can share with our audience right
what I can share is be hungry, man. Don't ever
now?
lose that drive. Be hungry. If you want something, go get it, man. Nobody's gonna hand it to you. Go
Mm-hmm.
get it. Nobody's gonna be like, hey, here's an opportunity. No, go get it, man. Whatever you got to do to get to where you want to in life, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
If something's standing in your way, move it out of the way. You got somewhere to be. You know,
Mm-hmm.
anything's in your way, get it out of the way. Take care of business first. Take care of business. It's hard at first. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But if you want something really bad, do it, man. Just follow your dream and do it. You can get there, man. I wanted to become a journeyman lineman so bad. That's all I ever wanted when I was a kid. After I left line school, I was hooked, man. I wanted to become a journeyman lineman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if I went cross country. I don't care if I went across the world. I was gonna reach that goal, man. I don't care what was in my way. I had $1,500 and an old beat up car to drive cross country to get to where I wanted to. Car
Mm-hmm.
broke down midway, fixed it, boom, let's go. Stepped in my car, boom, I don't care. Do it. Whatever you want to do, you can do it, man. No excuses. No
Mm-hmm.
excuses.
I like that. No excuses. Yeah, definitely. And that's a frame of mind that we want to encourage our listeners to have, whether it be in marriage or raising your children or coming into this trade or any other trade, right? That's a career, not just a job. Okay. Because this is what this is. This is a career. Okay. It's a lifestyle. Is, man, get after it. right? Get after it. That's the same mentality that I was taught as a apprentice. No excuses, get after it, right?
Right. Something that they told me too coming up, man. Look, anytime you take a JL call, man, look at yourself. Look at yourself. When
Mm-hmm.
they put that call in, they're gonna look at you. All right. They're gonna look at you and how you carry yourself. They're gonna determine that right off the bat, man. Just take care of yourself. You're pretty much your own company, man. Take that call, you're your own company, man. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the company could not make money or make money because of you. Now, you know, now that determines whether you keep a job or you don't have a job a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't stop when you become a journeyman lineman. It's just getting started. You're just getting started. You don't lay back because you become a JL. If
Yeah.
anything, you step it up times 10.
Mm.
That's what I believe in.
Heck yeah, man. Well, thank you, man. Definitely. We are constantly selling ourselves, whether you like sales or not. That's what we're doing. We are living and breathing, selling ourself, our product, right? But thank you, Victor, for coming on here and just sharing your insight, your wisdom with our listeners. I know it's going to have a tremendous impact on the people that are listening. I thank you for bringing hope, brother, and I appreciate you. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.